Let me begin with a truth so subtle yet so powerful that most people will live their entire lives without ever realizing it. The moment you tell someone what you do, you invite them to define you, contain you, and dismiss you. Now I ask you, do you wish to be understood or simply categorized? Do you seek to influence others or just inform them? Because if all you ever give people is a title, then all they will ever see is a limitation. In my years of studying the habits of the most successful men and women, leaders, inventors, and empire builders, I have learned this. They did not walk into rooms telling people what they did. They walked in with purpose, with vision, with a story that could not be ignored. This is not a talk about hiding your identity. It's a challenge to reveal something deeper. And by the time this speech ends, you will understand how to turn your conversations into catalysts, how to make your presence memorable, and how to unlock influence in every interaction. So I urge you, do not merely listen to what I say, absorb it. Question it, use it, because the world does not need another person explaining their job. It needs people bold enough to show their value before they ever say a word. You see, the greatest minds I've ever known never introduced themselves with job titles. They didn't walk into a room and declare, I'm a consultant or I work in finance. No, they walked in and said something that made people lean in. They sparked curiosity because they understood a fundamental truth. When you tell someone exactly what you do, you rob them of the chance to wonder about who you really are. Curiosity is one of the most magnetic forces in human interaction. It pulls people toward you. It opens doors, minds, and opportunities. And when you offer someone just enough to awaken their imagination, you begin to hold power in the conversation. They ask you questions, they invest their attention, and most importantly, they remember you. Now think about the last time someone asked, so what do you do? And you answered with the title. What happened? 9 times out of 10, the conversation fell flat. Why? Because labels are shortcuts. They allow people to file you away in a box, usually based on stereotypes or limited experience. But when you lead with a story, a moment of transformation, a problem you love to solve, a result you're proud of, you invite them into a narrative. And people don't forget narratives. They carry them. A man once told me, I help people break addictions they've struggled with for 20 years. Usually in less than 2 weeks. He never said he was a therapist. He never used a title. But I was hooked. I had questions. I was intrigued. And that's the point. He gave me a reason to ask, not a reason to walk away. When you spark curiosity, you don't just attract attention, you earn connection. And in a world full of noise, distraction, and shallow conversation, connection is currency. So the next time someone asks you what you do, resist the urge to give them the easy answer. Give them the real one. Give them a reason to remember you, to ask more, to care. Because when people are curious, they're open. And when they're open, that's when your message has a chance to land. If you want to lead, inspire, or influence, never satisfy curiosity at the door. Invite it in. One of the most dangerous illusions ever sold to a human being is the belief that what they do is who they are, that the title on the business card, the position in the company, the role in society, that somehow that little label sums up the vast, immeasurable depth of your identity. My friend, that is not only false, it is a trap. You are not your job, you are not your resume, you are not the neat little line someone uses to introduce you at a networking event. You are a force of nature, shaped by purpose, guided by passion, and capable of far more than any title could ever suggest. I've met men who called themselves janitors but were philosophers. Women who answered phones but held more wisdom than executives. I've seen leaders shrink into silence when they left their job because they thought their voice only mattered when it came with a title. That is the tragedy of self-limitation. The world teaches us to attach ourselves to roles instead of revealing ourselves through purpose. But the people who leave an impact, the ones who shift minds, move rooms, and bend circumstances, they speak from who they are, not just what they do. They don't define themselves by the task, but by the transformation they bring. You see, a job might describe your function, but your identity is rooted in your reason. Why do you do it? What lights your fire? What problem burns in your heart to solve? That's the part that people feel. That's what resonates. When you introduce yourself from a place of purpose, you rise above categories. People don't just hear you, they experience you. And it makes all the difference, because nobody is inspired by a title, but many are moved by a mission. You may change jobs 10 times in your life, but if you understand who you are and what you're here to do, your influence will never waver. So don't shrink yourself into a label just to make others comfortable. Stand in your truth. Speak from your purpose, because when you do, people won't just remember what you do, they'll remember who you are. You must understand, people do not remember facts, they remember feelings. You can hand someone your business card, rattle off your credentials, recite your accomplishments, but what lingers in their mind long after the words are gone is how you made them feel in your present. That is the true essence of influence. Not titles, not technical details, but emotional resonance. I've sat in rooms full of powerful people, CEOs, politicians, innovators, and I promise you, the ones who left an impression weren't the ones who spoke the most. They were the ones who spoke from the deepest place. They told stories that lit something up inside you. They shared a truth you could feel in your chest. You didn't just hear them. When you tell someone your job title, their brain files it away as quickly as it heard it. Oh, you're in marketing? Click, forgotten. You're an engineer? Click, box checked. But when you say, I help businesses rediscover what they forgot they stood for, or I build things that make people's lives simpler and smarter, suddenly the person across from you isn't just listening, they're engaged. They want to know more. They connect with the emotion behind your work, not just the function of it. That's where transformation begins. Because once you speak from that place of meaning, people remember you. Not because you try to impress them, but because you reach something deeper. And let me tell you, that kind of impression doesn't fade. The mind may forget details, but it never forgets a feeling, a spark, a shift, and that is your power, not in describing your work like a list of duties, but in sharing the impact it has on people's lives, including your own. When someone can feel your enthusiasm, your sincerity, your conviction, that's when you've truly communicated. Never underestimate what people will carry with them after a single conversation with you. They might forget your name, your title, even the context. But if you stirred something in them, hope, clarity, curiosity, then you've done something far more valuable than just network. So if you wish to be unforgettable, do not recite your title, release your truth. Most conversations in this world die before they even begin. Not because people lack intelligence, but because they start by closing the door. And the quickest way to close that door is by leading with a label. When you walk into a room and say, I'm a project manager, I'm a coach, I'm a freelancer, what you're really doing is drawing a line between you and the person across from you. A line that says, here is what I am, nothing more, nothing less. But here's the truth. People don't connect with titles, they connect with possibilities, with potential, with what could happen if they kept listening. And when you reduce yourself to a simple job title, you rob others of the opportunity to discover what makes you valuable. You cut the conversation short before it ever has a chance to grow into something meaningful. What you must understand is that every time you speak, you are planting a seed, and that seed either withers in the soil or it takes root. When you lead with something predictable, you don't give it a chance to grow. But when you lead with something unexpected, a question, a story, a bold idea, you create space. You open the door just wide enough for curiosity to walk through. And that is the key. Great conversations are built on open doors, not declarations, not summaries, invitations. You must learn to speak in a way that invites people in, not defines your boundaries. Instead of saying, I'm in tech, say, I help companies solve problems they didn't even know they had. Instead of saying, I'm in marketing, say, I love figuring out why people do what they do and helping businesses speak their truth so others care. See the difference? One version ends the conversation, the other one opens it. Because real opportunity, whether it's a friendship, a partnership, or a business breakthrough, rarely walks through the front door wearing a name tag. It comes from the unexpected corners of curiosity, from the moments when someone says, tell me more about that. So if you truly want to make an impact in this world, don't introduce yourself like a business card. Introduce yourself like a door, slightly open, full of possibility, impossible to ignore.